That is right.
We'll wait for Lynn here for a minute, see if he connects.
Yeah,
There you are. Hello, Lynn.
You
Okay,
wouldn't
we'll
let
call
me
the
in.
meeting to order.
notice how he puts that picture of books on the wall behind him to make him look learned.
Well, he's in the library.
Paper, my friend. Okay.
That's your wallpaper?
Yeah.
I love it.
The Russian Revolution is on the shelf. We're all set to go.
So Jerry, I have us at 6:34, calling the meeting to order.
That sounds good. Yep. So the first thing on the agenda is a motion to approve the June 22nd, 2020 meeting minutes.
I think
Hello,
the first
Dean.
thing on the agenda is to determine who's voting members.
That's true. Dale, you've been elected as a voting member.
Okay,
Motion to approve the June 22nd. Has everybody read it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Looks like you need
Right.
an iPhone too.
Do I hear a motion to accept or any comments about it?
So move.
Second.
You see who that was?
That was Lynn and Sandy?
Yes, I don't have video tonight, sorry.
Oh.
That's okay.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so carried. Now, has everybody read the July 13th minutes? Are there any comments or corrections? Can I hear a motion to approve the July 13th, 2020 minutes?
So moved.
That was Larry. And a second,
I second.
Dale,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. And we have a motion to approve the July 2nd meeting. Oh, this is planning, what's PRC?
Project Review Committee.
You can-
We don't
Those are
approve
just for
that.
your review.
those
Yeah.
are just
Yeah,
for our,
so we don't really need to approve that, right? Since it's not our,
It's just transparency.
so the instructions, do you want me to read the instructions for commenting?
Yeah.
CJ?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Instructions for commenting to the planning board with general and project-specific comments. As usual, all comments received at tolcodes@lansingtown.com will be forwarded to the planning board for their consideration. If you want your comment read aloud, please state that in your email. And now we'd like to open up to the privilege of the floor. Do we have anyone, has anyone sent any emails in for the privilege of the floor?
I have 4 emails and they are all in reference to one project. So I don't know if you want to wait until that particular project comes in front of the board tonight.
Yeah, the privilege of the floor would be for anything that's not on the agenda tonight. And are they on the agenda?
They are on the agenda. They're the third
Oh.
project on the agenda.
So do we have anything that is not on the agenda?
No.
All right, we'll move on to the town board liaison report.
Hello,
Mr. Dake.
at our last meeting, had 4 public hearings. A codification of our local ordinances, certain resolutions, the town of Lansing into the municipal code designated the code of the town of Lansing. We subsequently approved that. Public hearing for the annual stormwater report. No one spoke again and we approved that. public hearing on proposed local law number 3 and amend the land use ordinance relating to solar and wind energy systems, and we approve that. Finally, the proposed, or a public hearing for a proposed local law to override the tax levy limit, and we approve that. No one spoke during our privilege of the floor. Several reports in our packet. I would like to point out Pat's report, Pat Terrell. The park's on a record pace as far as revenue. The place is always busy now. So he's doing a great job down there, I believe. After that, consent agenda, 4 different items. Resolution authorizing Director of Planning to hire information aide. A resolution hiring part-time seasonal employees for the Park and Rec Department. A motion authorizing Town Supervisor to sign an agreement for grant number 20-274, total of $31,000 between Park Foundation and Town of Lansing for stormwater management and traffic impact study for Lansing Town Center. And finally, a resolution approving audit and budget modifications and the supervisor's report. We had a resolution authorizing the issuance of a $288,081.23 bond and anticipation renewal note. We also had a resolution approving agreement for sale of the Gore land at the end of Forest Acre Drive. That was tabled. We felt that we needed to contact the neighbors for comments on that, so we tabled it. And then board member reports, talked about town finances a little bit. More importantly, we talked about the ethics board vacancies during our work sessions and went into executive session. So.
Very good. Thank you very much. So are we ready to move in, CJ, to the Britton Woods major subdivision?
Absolutely. Hold on just a moment and I'll message the participants and see if anyone's waiting to speak to this.
Dean, you should be celebrating. We finally passed your solar law.
Let me go grab a beer.
Oh, Dean.
I don't think
Okay.
you can drink during the meeting. We see it, don't we see a play on that every year when we go up to the federal or planning federation meeting?
Yep.
Okay, I believe Melissa is here to speak about this. So hold on just a moment while I admit her.
Have we got a open meeting? I mean, a public hearing going on this, or do we need to open one?
Did I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
That's
I may
what
have
I'm
not.
asking.
Okay.
Doug Dake.
Did we do that already, Sue?
Oh,
No.
we did.
No? Okay.
Can I
Yes,
hear a
please.
motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have the public hearing open. Do we have someone who wishes to speak? CJ?
Yes, I've just asked them to unmute, so hold on just a moment, please.
Just that stuff. Something good not to tell.
Right through the backyard. I'm out here trying to.
Okay, I just asked them to unmute, so. Well, trying here.
The joys of the internets.
Looks,
The internet highway. Information highway, they used to call it.
We never had problems getting people to unmute during open meetings when we all met in person.
no.
Okay. Well, I've clicked a few times, asked to unmute. Let's see if I can get her by email and ask her to unmute here.
There she goes.
There she goes.
Okay.
I didn't have a question. I'm sorry. I'm just
Oh.
interested in hearing the information.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You could watch it on YouTube, or I can just put you back in the waiting room if you don't wish to comment.
Well, I guess, I mean, I can ask a question. It might be a silly question. Just wondering if there was going to be any kind of privacy or fencing or anything between the borders of the property. The different, you know, in between where the houses are and the neighboring places.
So this is just public hearing. This is for you to just speak about the project. You can pose a question, but the board doesn't
Oh,
have to
sorry.
answer. No worries.
We can answer that question real quickly, that there are none, so shown on the prints at the moment.
On the radio. Try that one.
Doug?
Sorry. I was asked a question. Somebody barged in my office. I let her.
Do you have a question?
No, I don't have.
Oh, okay. All right, so Melissa, did you have any comment that you wanted to make regarding the Britton subdivision?
Well, I mean, my comment is it obviously impacts a huge amount on my property, my privacy, hunting, all kinds of things. So I'm very interested to hear, you know, how things will proceed and whatnot.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Can you let us know what your relative position is as far as the subdivision is concerned, where you are?
She's off.
Oh,
She's gone.
sorry, let me admit her back in.
Melissa, are you there?
Oh, sorry. I thought I got kicked out.
Well, you did sort
my
of.
bad.
Larry had a question for you, so we brought you back
Okay.
in.
Where is your property compared to
We're at
the?
3015 North Trip Hammer, 3015. So we're the property that would be the north border.
Okay, so right now you're bordered on woods,
Yes.
and you're concerned that that'll be full of houses?
It'll be, yeah, it impacts hunting, which is a big thing that we do. And you know, 500 feet away from the nearest house, that's a lot of houses. And you know, we ride four-wheelers around. I mean, people might not like it.
Well, that's, I understand that. That's something we all deal with as the town grows, our open land, unless we actually own the open land, our open land tends to get smaller. The plans that we've got show the corner, which I believe is directly behind your house, is going to be pretty much untouched. There doesn't appear to be any removal of trees even in that area.
Okay, that's good to know.
That's the reserve area.
You are the second spot up from their driveway, right?
Yes, I believe so. Or maybe it's a third.
Melissa,
Yeah, I
what did
think
you
it's the
say?
third.
What
I
did you
think
say
it's-
your address was, Melissa?
3015.
3015?
Yes.
Yeah, I
It's a
think it's the,
26-acre parcel.
yeah, Melissa's is the third resident up from that driveway.
Yeah, so there's a fair amount of distance between of undisturbed area between her property and the nearest house. Is that
Like
correct?
this.
Yeah, that's what it looks like on the plans if we got the right location.
Would you like me to bring those up?
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, sure thing.
So Melissa, your house is the upper left, correct?
Yes.
And
So
so
I
you
see,
can
I
see
see
that
that
whole corner is
diagonal
your-
area.
Can you point at it, CJ?
This one is this.
No, the house.
Oh, I'm sorry. These structures, I believe, are your property, right?
Just the upper left. The other one is our neighbor's house.
And
That
then,
one.
and
The
CJ,
one
if
with
you
the
can
big
go over
roof.
there, my screen here is fairly dark, so if you could show where the corner of the land is closest to her house.
Yes. So this is the property boundary here.
And that's all ours
On the north side.
on our north side.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. This is they have a fairly substantial parcel there. It's 26 acres. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes, it doesn't show. This property line isn't shown, but there's a property line here. And then their property runs 26 acres to the north there.
So Melissa, there must be very few places that you can actually hunt on your property right now.
Well,
In the
with
center,
20
in the center with a gun, bow hunting and crossbow hunting, there's more options.
I do a fair amount of hunting, and it's something that as hunters, we all have to deal with. The option, of course, is getting written permission from the people that own the houses so that you can hunt within 500 feet. But the problem is that's safe anyway. Something we all deal with.
Yep, I just letting you know that's the kind of property what we have and what we're using it for, and the concern I would have, like as you can imagine, like there's not going to be people in your backyard basically looking. I mean, they can see you now and whatnot. And I was just curious if there was any kind of fencing that would be going up around that, but I already heard that was not on the plan.
Well, as I said, this upper corner here, the plans that are there now show none of those trees being removed.
That's good.
Right, so there'll be some foliage screening there, but no fences per se.
Mm-hmm.
And possibly, don't we have plans for a walking path back up through there that may tie into Armstrong Road at some time in the future?
Well, the developer has agreed to talk to the Trails Committee about it. And that's another thing that would be nice for the neighbors to know, is that the Trails Committee is putting walking paths through these developments.
I'm not sure that they were interested in extending that to the public,
Right. Yeah, that's the way I remember.
as I recall.
Me too.
Well, they can discuss it with the Trails Committee. And hopefully there'll be Deb will get right on them and we'll convince them that that's in their best interest or in the town's best interest.
So am I hearing that a condition for approval of the final plat would be coordination with the Parks, Recreation and Trails Advisory Committee?
I don't think we'd make that a condition. We're making it a request.
Understood.
I think
Is
that's
that true? Does anybody have an idea they'd like to make it a condition?
No,
No,
no.
No,
we talked about-
I'd say no.
We talked about it in previous meetings, and
Yeah.
the possibility was there, and we did know that the people that were involved on the Parks, Recreations and Trails Committee want to have all the developers that come before us apprised of the possibility.
All right, thank you very much, Melissa.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, are there any other comments? Do we have any anything else? We've been through the short environmental assessment form. Is Tim coming up with any new information? CJ?
Yes, so you may notice on the preliminary plat updated drawings that the road does extend to within 20 feet of that property line as requested.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. There's also, we had some communication with the county highway department as well as county planning. So county planning just got their letter back to me this morning. So hopefully you received that via email. Sorry, it's a little late to print.
Scott said no problem.
Yes, and there was also, we coordinated with highway in advance just to see if they had any specific concerns, and they requested the stormwater permanent practices not be placed in the county right of way. That was obviously a concern of theirs. We also have from Guy prepared a blanket access agreement for the drainage as well as the stormwater, rather than have it be tied lot by lot. It would be for the entirety. But a lot of the comments were related to stormwater. And then road design, I've had a fairly extensive conversation with Dondi and Cricket as well. And Cricket insisted on the additional road length. So hopefully that's.
CJ, so we've got this letter from TG Miller dated June 29th. Are we to assume then that that the developer has looked at this and answered the questions that Dondi had? So
Yes.
So we're good to go with regard to these?
Well, there's a couple outstanding questions. I asked Dundee to send me comments by last Friday, but he was unable to do so and just sent me a very quick message before this. But Dundee would like to see an official SHPO letter. So we can make that a condition of the final plat as desired.
The official SHPO letter just says that SHPO has no interest in this property, right?
Well, it could.
Well, I mean, that's what the comments were about on the letter that, at least that I saw it, because I found that strange that he was asking for it.
Yeah, so there's, and I think that this is a conversation between the engineers. Tim Buell, the project engineer, was fairly adamant that this didn't cross the threshold for this, but Dondi said that that the size of the project does require, the SWIP requires the letter from SHPO. So
okay.
I figured we could make that a condition of final plat approval as the board desires.
Yep.
So which one of them is right, just out of curiosity?
I leave that for you to decide. But that said, I did just hear back from Donnie 45 minutes ago. And so if you prefer to wait to be able to get his comments back, of course, the public hearing we held tonight, there's no need for you to take action on this. You're not up against the clock as it stands right now. So if you'd like to you continue to the review and wait for the additional comments from Donnie, that's perfectly reasonable.
Would further delay be putting any undue stress on the developer?
It's my understanding the answer to that is yes. But we have to do our job no matter what. But do we need comments from Dondi if is there anything other than the SHPO letter that's open?
Let me just actually bring up my email and I will show you what I got back from Dondi. He said, TJ, I've mostly finished the review and there are still many outstanding comments that have not been addressed yet. Instead of listing them all, maybe best to follow up with Tim Scott and the town separately. Scott Gibson, meaning the stormwater engineer on the project. They did do a topographic that's part of a survey for the stormwater area. I think he would like to see a bit more extensive topographic survey. And so that's was received, about what, an hour and change ago. So
that's pretty flat land to have a sophisticated topographical survey done on it. Are we sure that we really need to be asking for that?
well, I think it has to do with those two, the two ponds there.
Okay.
So I think
I
that was
did notice he had comments about the water retention height in the ponds with the height of the spillway, and he wanted to do some exploration to see where the water table was in the area. So, all right. So we can act on the resolution holding back those contingencies?
Yes, Tom.
So what is the story with the dry ponds and they're supposed to be 60 feet? It's 60 feet from the center line of the road is the county highway right of way. And so looking at this map, it looks like those ponds are within that 60 feet of the right of way.
Would you like the applicant to review that in light of the
Yes.
highway?
Okay, Tom, question. I'm looking at, you looking at ST5?
ST1 I'm looking at.
Okay, if you take a look at
It's
ST5,
okay.
the more detailed one shows the edge of the pond being east on the, either right on or east of the right of way marked.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Marked.
So then it's outside of the right of way.
Looks like they made that change, yeah.
Yeah, because the ST1, if it's 1 inch is 40 feet, that pond is certainly within an inch of the center line of the road. So yeah, if you go with ST5, I guess it's all right because they have the right of way.
Yeah, I try to go for more detailed plan, but yeah.
Well,
because that's the one that the right of way is marked on.
So the scale is 1 inch to 40 feet. And I don't know, that 60 feet is, to me, it looks like the right of way extends further away. We have the copying of the map.
Scale is
not the scale.
Right, the scale is 1 inch to 40 feet on the original drawing. But
Yeah,
this
these
not to
reproductions aren't to scale.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we run into that problem often. So do we think that we want to wait for Dandy's questions to be answered before we proceed with these resolutions?
Does Dondi specify what his other questions are besides there are many other questions to be answered?
Nope, it just says I've mostly finished the review, still many outstanding comments that have not been addressed yet. Recommends following up with the project engineers and sub-consultants and to call him if we
Is
needed
Tim
something,
here?
but no, not see Tim.
Because if all he was looking for was a letter from SHPO, I would say that that would be okay to go ahead with the resolutions, leaving that as a contingency. But if we don't know what his other questions are,
Yeah, why are we at this point? I mean, why hasn't he dealt with this question? Is there a problem with communication in the COVID?
I began to wonder that, Jerry.
Because we were hoping to resolve this issue tonight, and Dandy's not complete.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a letter here that was supposedly sent out at the end of June. Here we are at the end of July, and we still don't know anything.
I believe that. Sorry.
Dandy's usually pretty good about following up on stuff, but I don't know what's going on.
Well, I would say that he sent this letter at the end of June. It was sent to the project applicants. I could certainly lay out the timeline for you as to when it was delivered. I believe it was delivered to the applicants that same day. And they turned around these changes, but I believe that the changes aren't sufficient to meet the totality of the comments, is what I mean to say. I don't.
So in other words, the engineers haven't agreed on the completion of these comments yet. On the resolution of the comments, I should say. So I don't think that we can't vote on a resolution on this project until we hear back from Dandy. But we sure hope that this happens by next time, or they're gonna miss the building season altogether.
Yeah, is this something that we want to make sure we fit into what's the next available calendar date?
Our next meeting is gonna be a training session.
Can we meet? Do we want to address this during that session?
Question.
I would say yes.
Yes.
We should address this as soon as possible.
Yes. I move we close the
Yes.
public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Now,
Okay, public hearing.
if I could agree with Dean, the next time we meet, we really should have the answers on this so that we can address the resolution.
Yes, so the draft resolution was provided essentially as a placeholder. So the applicants have been expressing significant dissatisfaction with the speed of which this review has been processed. And we've obviously gone to great lengths to be accommodating. But that said, it sounds that the board is looking for additional feedback. So,
well, at this point, I'm also a little bit disaffected with the speed at which this has gone forward. I don't know where the lack of communication lies. But
it's surprising that Dandy has sent us a letter saying I have many comments left that have been unresolved. And I would like to know, without stipulating, generally he at least stipulates what comments there are. I mean, what his concerns are, whether they're actually pertinent concerns that we have to be concerned about, or there's something that can be taken care of in the resolution as a contingency. But without us having any idea what he's talking about, there's no way for us to continue at this meeting. But I think we ought to set aside time, even if we have the training at the next meeting. Hopefully, I agree. He will have taken care of his comments and found time to address it by then. And we can deal with these resolutions at that time.
I'm assuming that the comments that are open are the items in red on his letter.
He said not all of them. He said,
A lot
according
of
to
them were taken care of.
CJ, that part of them have been taken care of, but we don't know what part.
So I'm assuming we can proceed with the environmental assessment, get that out of the way.
Yes, you can
Great.
proceed with the determination of environmental significance if you wish. And I did actually ask Dundee this morning, I said, please let me know if there's any specific conditions that you would like the board to consider as part of the final plat this evening. So I think people are trying to communicate as best they can, but sometimes submissions are not, shall we say, timely. So.
Yeah. And we understand what you're saying.
So we proceed with the seeker.
So, did we already do the short environmental assessment form? Is that what I'm seeing here on July 17th
Looks like it.
I thought we did.
at the meeting? So other than his comments, unless Dandy has some problems with this, I'm not seeing where we need any more information, or do we?
Not on the seeker.
Looks like all of his comments, again, were the SHPO letter and issues with determining that everything as shown on the map is correct in regards to the drainage and the dry ponds.
And there seemed to be some problem with the, well, they took care of the problem of joining the two together, so there's only one drainage out into the ditch.
Yeah.
And it looks like they decided that took care of the problem that the of the elevations. But I'm not seeing anything other than the SHPO letter that he had, but he says he has many other unanswered questions, so.
Well, he communicated this morning with CJ, and it's unfortunate that there's not a better list to date.
Well, we know the guy.
Yeah, so I just want to mention that the project engineer did not provide a response to the comments. So Dondi sent these on June 29th, and then I believe the changes were made by the applicant, but without a comment response is what I'm trying to say.
Tim
Well,
hasn't
if we
responded.
made the changes that Don wanted, why should he need to respond?
Well, I think that he didn't make all the changes. So I think perhaps there's some.
That was initially, I'm glad that you mentioned before that that had been transmitted to the applicant the same day, because looking at this letter, I can't tell that the applicant received this letter on the same day. He's not one of the copies listed and is not a co-addressee with you. It would be kind of helpful if we knew where else these letters went, you know, when we get them.
Okay.
In other words, if Dondi copied Tim, he should have put it on the CC at the end of the letter.
Yeah, so generally we do not have town consultants reach out directly to project applicants as a rule, but.
So you passed the stuff back to him.
That's correct. So on June. Try to find my email that I sent about this.
Well,
June 20.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's on June 26th at 11:41 a.m. I sent it to Tim, Lynn, Sue, and I copied project owner Scotty Britton and said, these are the projects received from the town engineer. I'll be meeting with the highway superintendent next week. We'll be reviewing the drainage district map plan and report at this water and sewer advisory committee on the 1st. And I would follow up with him regarding anything else shortly thereafter. So I'm happy to forward this correspondence to the planning board, of course.
Well, you just did, so that's good enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, this is gonna have to wait till the next meeting, and we can try to take care of it in the next, planning board meeting.
Could we meet early?
were we still waiting for Guy to have were we still waiting for Guy to have the words of setting up the drainage district?
Yeah, so the drainage district would be executed upon the final plat. So there is also a draft easement that was prepared by Guy, essentially at the request of the applicant and owner, as sort of a template for that blanket easement as well. So
Okay,
We go ahead and do the short EAS, environmental assessment, or EAF. Part 2.
Mine is already filled out. And said that it was done on July 17th.
did we,
Oh,
did,
okay.
Is that
yes,
correct?
I took the liberty of pre-filling it for you, but
Oh.
of course, please.
okay,
I thought maybe we did it at the last meeting.
Oh, and actually, as you guys review it tonight, I will make the date change up at the top. And then,
okay,
then Jerry, I'm gonna email you the part 3, have you sign off on it, and then if you could drop it off at the office, that would be great.
Okay, or you could just print one out at the office and I will stop by and sign it as soon as I'm no longer in quarantine.
Okay,
I have a note, Sue, to have Jerry sign the part 3 and the plats as needed, so no worries.
Yep.
Thank you.
hey, you want to read through it, Jerry?
Yep. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No,
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
no,
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
Yes, but
small impact.
It's a residential community now,
correct.
and so the community will remain the same, except some of its woodland will go. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environment area?
No,
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
Small impact.
moderate.
An
No.
adverse change?
No,
Yeah, I don't
No,
think that 10 houses isn't gonna make much difference to the traffic on Trip Hammer Road. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No,
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies?
small impact.
no,
Small impact.
Will have public water supplies will be used.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah,
Public, private wastewater treatment utilities, and that'll have zero impact, right?
right.
Since there isn't one. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of an important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
not as far as we know.
No.
Quick question here, CJ. This automatic fill-in is generated by the state, by the state's records for the land, right?
On the part 2, that was filled in by us. or you, I should say, as the lead agency, but the part one, if it's got a little checkbox in the yes column or in the no column, it depends on the section, but yes, the archaeological ones are typically auto-filled by the EAF mapper.
But this one was filled in by staff, Larry.
Okay,
If you're looking at the
Part
part
one?
two.
What was the part one ever filled out?
Part one is filled out. Yeah, it was part of your project paperwork.
Right, but I'm saying, was it filled out by staff or filled out using the GIS mapper?
It would be by the applicant, and I believe they did use the EAF mapper. I can go back to double
Yes.
check. It usually has,
Yes.
you could tell if the very last page has a
Mhm.
an auto-generated map of New York State or the
And
area.
it's signed by Tim Buell.
Because if it did use the mapper, then that would seem to answer Dondi's question. SHPO.
Yes, but I think the letter is based on the size of the project that's covered by the SWIP.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Jerry.
And now I forgot where I was.
Just did number 8.
Proposed action impair the, that was 8, we did that. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? For example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna.
All impact.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
I have page 1 or 2, and I don't have a page 2.
Page 2 is up the back.
It's
Oh,
it's
at
the
back.
it's
My
the part
back.
3. Oh yes. Okay.
There was nothing on page 2, was there? Was there one more question?
She said page 2 is part 3.
Oh, it's part 3. So Sue, you got all the answers right.
On to the resolution.
Yeah, shall we do the secret resolution?
So moved. Neg deck.
Neg deck. All in favor, or did we have a first and a second?
So moved.
Dean made the first.
I'll second it.
Larry's got the second. All in favor?
Nope. Can I do roll call?
Aye.
Oh, you have to do a roll call?
Yeah.
Roll call.
Okay, Sandy,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Al? Is Al still here?
Al just winked out when you called
There
him.
he is.
Okay, there he is. Al, we're doing the motion for the seeker. He may not be on. I'll come back to him. Larry,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
and Jerry.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
And Al, I don't know if you heard, we called your name, but you
Yes.
disappeared. So you said yes?
Yeah, you guys bouncing in and out the connection, but yes. You
Okay,
hear me?
thank you.
Hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes, I gotcha.
Oh, okay.
And so we'll have to wait on that anymore for that, the final resolution till we hear back from Dondi.
So
The final resolution has got some acreage mixed up, I think. The first whereas is 9.70 acres, and then the third whereas is 3.42 acres.
Oh, thanks for catching it. That resolution needs a good copy editing, so thanks.
Good catch, Dan. All right, shall we? Any other comments? Shall we move ahead to the placement of a 12-foot by 16-foot gambrel paddlecraft shed? Please, Robert T. Marcus. This went to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they have granted the appeal. CJ, you want to bring us up to date on it?
Sure. So the Zoning Board of Appeals, I guess, what was that? July 14th, is that possible? Yes. On Tuesday, July 14th, reviewed the two requests for area variances, one from the rear and one from the front. And both area variances were granted. And we provided some detail in the mailing about that. I don't recall if we managed to eke the final decision or notice of findings and decision together, but I'm happy to transmit that to you also if you'd like that. We're juggling a bunch of things right now. But Mr. Marcus is here to speak about the projects, if you'd like to hear from him.
Yep, let's bring him in.
Okay.
Here he is.
Hi, Mr. Marcus.
Hi, how are you?
Do you have any other information that we need other than what you gave us last time?
I don't believe so.
Explain to us your journey through the zoning appeal.
I have to, first of all, thank you all for your service. This can't be easy gig. No, it's been fine, straightforward. CJ's been a great guide. I certainly understand the concerns and feel like I've gotten a fair hearing here.
And they found for you?
I believe so.
So we simply want to do the preliminary and final approval. Is that where we're at, CJ?
Mm-hmm.
So that's correct, and this will allow the applicant, Mr. Marcus, to continue on to apply for the floodplain development permits, and that will be reviewed. I think I've already actually sent it to Dave Herrick and TG Miller for his review to let us know if there's any additional conditions he would like to see regarding the placement of the structure, securing of the structure, etc.
So
You're good with the resolution, CJ?
What was that about the resolution? I'm sorry.
You're good with the resolution then?
I believe so.
Add anything to it?
It's just a draft, and I think we did list the condition as a floodplain development permit as a condition. So that's the final piece, and he did receive those two area variances as well, which were the big question as far as citing.
Do we need a public hearing on this? Did we already have one, or is that?
We decided not to do one.
We decided not to?
Not to.
There was a public hearing for the
that was waived.
zoning board.
So does anyone have any comments on the resolution and the final preliminary and final approval?
I'm assuming that this was made available to you. Did you read the resolution?
Mr. Marcus?
I have not read the resolution.
So the conditions at the end of the resolution says that this site plan is valid for 36 months. That's number one. And number two, it says building permits and a floodplain development permit will be required to emplace the structure. Such plans must meet all code requirements, including sealing of plans by a licensed engineer or architect, and be constructed in compliance with local and state building codes.
Okay.
So
No,
I
neither of
heard
those should be a
somebody, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said neither should be a problem to meet.
Okay. I heard somebody mention something about, anchoring the structure, but I'm assuming that will all be taken care of by the
Floodplain.
sealed plans,
Yeah.
architect, engineer, so should not be a concern.
Thank you, Dean. Do I hear a motion to accept this resolution as written?
So moved.
Second.
Get that, Sue?
I'm sorry, who is the second? I have
Lynn.
Lynn Davidson as first. And
I'll
Alice,
second it then.
Larry is second. Al? Yes, Al?
I think he seconded.
No, go ahead. I just said I'd second it. Go ahead.
Okay. We saw you with your hand up. All in.
I was just trying to second it. That's all right.
You're gonna roll
okay,
call?
I'm gonna do
Roll
roll
call
call.
vote.
Okay,
Sue?
so roll call, Sandy,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Al,
Yes.
thank you. Larry,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
and Jerry.
Yes.
Hey, Bob.
So,
Thank you very much. I
Marcus,
really appreciate it.
get a permit and a floodplain thingy and build your shed.
It'll be the most over-architected shed of all time.
Yep.
Ugly when you build on the lake.
It's absolutely true. Thank you all very much. I really do appreciate the help.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you as well.
Now, we have a public hearing for the Maple Ave minor subdivision. And how do we handle this, CJ?
If you'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing,
So
I have,
Open the public hearing.
Second.
Second?
Lynn and Dean.
Letter to
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi.
All opposed? So carried. Now, how do we handle this? We haven't had a public hearing yet on the Zoom where we had people actually publicly hearing.
so,
There were comments?
I'm sorry.
We have a letter. Right?
Yes, may I admit the person waiting and then may I ask Sue to then read the written statements as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a public hearing yet on the Zoom where we had people actually publicly hearing.
Comments?
We have a letter. Right?
Yes, may I admit the person waiting and then ask Sue to then read.
We're getting feedback.
That's me again.
Yeah.
Yes. if you could just-
Jay Nicholson. Hello.
Okay, I'll just ask Gay to unmute here. I think maybe that was a little feedback from
Well, it was
YouTube.
probably she had her YouTube video on. Are we advising people to make sure to turn off YouTube? CJ?
You know, I think it wasn't, oh, never mind. It says I wasn't waiting to speak. Okay, never mind.
So she
Yes,
will
we
see.
had been originally advising people of that, but our we should be tailoring the agenda to indicate that. I will make a note to remind myself.
Okay, so they don't want to speak?
No, I believe Gay Nicholson submitted written comments as well, which can be read by Sue.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sue, would you like to read the comments, please?
Sure. See, I have one from Daniel Broadway. And he requested, please read this into the record at tonight's meeting. Not in favor of the proposed subdivision of the property at 21 Maple Ave, Lansing. The wooded area is important for the ecology and the microclimate that contributes to the health of the protected trout stream it borders. The particular area of the stream has numerous spawning beds each spring and fall, and taking out a large number of trees to build a couple of houses would eliminate the shade and increase the water temperature. What does the DEC have to say about this proposal? He is also asking, has the stream ecologist been consulted? It also seems dangerous to have two driveways entering Maple Ave next to a blind curve. In an email from Dan Isbell, who I'll read in a moment, owner of the adjacent property, he told me that Linde told him there wasn't enough room for one driveway in that stretch of road frontage. The steep slope off the side would necessitate bringing in a lot of fill to build a base for the driveways, which would mean a lot of trees would have to be cut in addition to clearing space for houses and septic systems. Given the climate crisis we're in, we need more trees, not fewer. We need to take a longer view and abandon the notion of always trying to make a quick buck and let someone else deal with the consequences. We've had drainage problems on Maple Ave, and a culvert pipe was put under the road a couple of years ago, which dumps runoff into those woods. It solved part of the problem. How would that drainage issue be addressed if these proposed lots were cleared for two homes? Would there be a road runoff channeled all the way down to the creek? As it is now, the stand of trees stabilizes the soil and takes up a lot of water. That woodlot is also an important wildlife corridor and nursery. Besides deer, we have regular sightings of fox and even a spotting of a black bear a couple of years ago. Osprey are now making their way up from the lake to Ludlowville. My neighbor and I saw a bald eagle circling above us as we stood in the street in front of my house several years ago. The section of Salmon Creek by the Upper Fisherman's parking lot is ideal for them to catch fish. The great blue herons feed along the stretch and secluded stream, but take flight as soon as they spot any movement. We need to preserve the environment we have. That's what makes a good quality of life. So that is the first comment put on record. The second one is from Gay Nicholson. Please read my comments out loud for the record for the Lansing Planning Board meeting on July 27th, 2020, regarding the public hearing on the proposed subdivision of 21 Maple Ave. I have lived at number 1 Maple Ave in Ludlowville for 41 years and served as a coordinator of the Ludlowville Community Association for 8 years. Our 200-plus-year-old hamlet has been mostly undisturbed by development for over 100 years. We are now confronted by the profit-seeking purchase of the property at 21 Maple Ave by Matt Hartz, the son of a local bank president. The former owner of 21 Maple is Jillian. She approached me years ago when I was the executive director of Finger Lakes Land Trust about putting a conservation easement on the woods next to her house because she understood the ecological value of the woods to the health of the local wildlife and that long adjacent section of Salmon Creek. It was too small for an easement to be held by the land trust. And in the absence of a town government interested in conservation, I urged her to at least place a deed restriction on it to prevent further subdivision or removal of the forest. Obviously, she never followed through on protecting the forest and sold it to someone more interested in land speculation and flipping properties than putting down roots in our neighborhood. I know that others have details to the planning board why they should declare a positive declaration of environmental impact on this proposal. DEC should be deeply involved and analyze the impact of tree removal on the health of Salmon Creek. With housing developments, there's going to be an increased stormwater runoff, loss of shipping to keep the water cool for the trouts, and sediment washout that will only increase as climate change hits home harder. As the floodplain expands more and more of the property, it is septic fields that will be susceptible. You have been reminded that when Day told residents that there was no room for one, much less two driveways coming up the very steep slope in the blind curve on Maple Ave. You have been informed that the habitat, this block of the Littleville Woods, provides a local wildlife and presence of registered wetlands. Back in the 80s, an extensive historical study of Littleville was conducted to document the rich history of the hamlet and its building and overall unblemished historical neighborhood integrity. The proposal by Matt Hart to ignore all of that history and for the sake of his private profit would rob the community of Ludloville of its ambiance as a historical rural hamlet by adding modern houses right in the core of the neighborhood. I suppose it's easy for him to ignore the social and ecological damage of our community if his plan is just to subdivide and flip the property and move on to wealthier neighborhood other than ours. The whole project seems ill-advised due to the environmental harms, difficulty of proper construction standards, and negative impacts on the historic value of the hamlet. It is a shame that isn't content to just reside in the historic home at Maple Ave and truly be a member of our community. The Lansing Planning Board should not allow a segment review of the impact of this subdivision proposal. So that was the second one. I have one from Karen Edelstein. And it says, please forward this comment. I would like it to be read as record so others watching the meeting will hear. And this is addressed to the town of Lansing Planning Board. My name is Karen Edelstein. As a member of the Town of Lansing Conservation Advisory Council, I want to express, excuse me, I want to express my concern about the proposal to subdivide the property at 21 Maple Ave in Ludloville. This subdivision should not be approved unless there are put in place restrictions or caveats about how the property might be developed. Because the wooded back end of the property provides an ecological and erosion buffer to Salmon Creek. And it's located between the two DEC fishing access sites. It is imperative that the woodlands is not removed if the 3.3 acre parcel is subdivided into 3 separate lots. My understanding is that if the proposed subdivision is approved, the additional 2 lots would not be subject to site plan review in order to construct new dwelling units. Currently, site plan review would be required for additional dwelling units in the 3.3 acre property. Once the subdivision is in place, the planning board loses its ability to stipulate conditions on future developments such as construction siting. To that end, as part of the approval to this subdivision proposed currently on the table, any house construction should take place only within 80 feet of the road to avoid impacting the short area of the steep slopes and the Riparian, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, forest buffer to Salmon Creek. While I understand that the Lansing Code is currently lacking the adequate ecological protections of precious environmental assets, I encourage the planning board to use any and all tools at their disposal to avoid deleterious impacts of Salmon Creek that may occur from increasing the housing density in that part of Maple Ave. And then last but not least, I have Daniel Isbell. Oops, if I can get it open. And let me open my email. I kind of drug it to my desktop. Okay, so this is from Dr. Daniel Isbell. And he is asking also, please read this out loud at the planning board meeting, Monday, July 27th. As owner of the property at 11 Maple Ave, I am opposed to the 21 Maple Ave parcel division being requested by Mr. Matt Hartz. The subdivision he is requesting will result in parcels B and C being unbuildable lots. This Hartz property that is currently one parcel, 21 Maple Ave, immediately abuts my property line, so I'm the nearest affected neighbor. The portion of the land within the Hartz property that is included in the National Wetlands Inventory bordering Salmon Creek is directly contiguous with the portion of my property also designated part of the National Wetlands Inventory. See the PSS1A on the Wetlands Data Mapper provided by the fws.gov/wetlands/data/mapper. These lands are designated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as unique watershed ecosystems worthy of protection. In the parcels on Maple Ave, 21 Maple Ave, are purchased to be clearly built on, and ill effects of this land clearance will spread to the downstream wetlands as well. Degradation of the National Wetlands Inventory is inappropriate and unfortunately highly likely when building, agriculture, urban runoff, and other human contaminants happen. We are stewards and conservators of the National Wetlands Inventory portion of our property, but we are highly dependent on what our neighboring property owners do. The answer to question 13B on Mr. Hart's short environmental assessment form: would the proposed action physically alter or encroach into an existing wetland or water body? And he kind of has it quoted. May be no at this time, but would definitely be yes for future buyers. Secondly, the access of the proposed parcels B and C would be questionable. There would be no room to build driveway access to Maple Ave from either parcel. The steep slopes of the property on a blind curve would make driveways not only dangerous, but probably impossible. We have a driveway onto Maple Ave that is unusable. And that is the last one that we received. And let me actually kind of go up to the top here and see to make sure that there's nothing new. And I'm not seeing anything else added for tonight.
Do we have a map? I'm not seeing anything in what I have that shows a map of how this property is to be subdivided. And I think all that I have is online stuff. I'm not seeing any.
Hold on just a moment.
Right. In other words, I see where the wetlands are.
Okay, you would like to see the wetlands map?
Nope, I can see the wetlands, but how is the property to be subdivided?
Yes, hold just a moment, please, and I will like
I
to
don't
share
have
the
a
screen.
copy. Yeah, I don't have a copy
Okay.
of the map that shows it.
Oh, sorry about that. I think it went with the
There,
original
that's the
other
question
mailing.
I had.
You see that okay?
Do we have any comments?
Also, the applicant is here to speak about the project as well.
Would you like to hear from him, or does anyone on the board have a comment based on what we just heard?
Can you put the
I'd
part
like
one?
to hear from the applicant first.
Okay, Larry, what do you want?
Do we hear from the applicant, please?
Yep, we will.
Okay, admitting the applicant.
Can you
Oh,
put
I'm sorry.
the part one up on the screen?
The part one. Okay, hold on just a moment for that.
Where the reference is made to the findings of the EAF survey. Locating the wetlands on the property.
Okay, let me locate that part one. Hold on just a moment.
I had it just a minute ago and I can't seem to get it back either.
No worries, let me just bring that up. Okay, we'll just go to the web mapper here. Let's bring that up.
13 part B, is that what you're looking for, Larry?
Let me just see here.
Would the proposed action physically alter or encroach into any existing wetland or water body?
No, I was looking at the project information for the part one.
Okay, here's the part one. Larry, just let me know what you'd like to go to.
Okay, if we can scroll down to question 13. Okay,
13?
and right now it's covered. Drop it down a little more. Right now it's covered by Tom's head.
Oh, here we go.
Oh no, further down, other way.
Oh, other way. Okay.
Well,
What's that?
He does mark it.
okay, so we seem to have an assessment based on the EAF mapper that I question how 13A can be yes and 13B can be no. And if 13B can indeed be no, is there really a problem? It's the state that makes the determinations based on the EAF mapper, right?
Except that the EAF mapper put in 13A, but I think it did not, it doesn't, it looks like somebody else's check mark is in for B.
Right.
But the subdivision would not physically alter, but would encroach into an existing wetland, right?
Well, that's what 13B says, and that's why I'm asking if the EAF mapper said yes on 13A, then who made the determination that the development would not encroach on the wetland in 13B?
This was completed by the applicant.
I mean, there wouldn't be any alterations, but it certainly is encroaching. So the answer to that really should be yes. And then if yes, identify the wetland or water body, which should be done. And the extent of alterations in square feet, since nothing is being altered, would be 0. Does that sound like correct to you?
So
I
you're,
think we would have to have proof that it would be 0, yeah.
What do you mean? Just drawing the lot line on the map is not going to alter the wetland, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying. And just drawing a line on the map doesn't mean the wetland isn't going to be altered. or encroached on?
Well, we don't have
No
any
construction,
control.
Jerry.
Yes, Tom?
So I have a question. So you subdivide the land, and you're not altering anything other than property lines. But when somebody goes to build on the other two parcels, do they have to come before the planning board and present their case of whether they can even build to begin with?
No, not once the subdivision's done. That's why we've got to be real careful here.
It also depends on what they might build, to try to answer Tom's question. So if it was a use that required site plan review, then the answer would be yes. But if they were permitted by right, then the answer would be no, that they would not
And-
require site plan.
And a regular residential structure would be permitted by right. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And not to mess with a wetland.
Right, encroachment on the wetland would be, would
Limited.
not be possible regardless of whether it's subdivided or not. In other words,
Registered wetland.
Pardon?
If it was a registered wetland, does it have standing to stand on its own? I.e., the state wetlands are 12 acres or more. And I
Yes,
don't know
that's,
where this little wetland would pan out in that market, in that situation.
yeah, so as Lynn is saying, this wetland is 2.295 acres approximately. And like I can just share the screen with that map. Go. So this is in the National Wetlands Inventory. So as Lynn is saying, New York State only regulates wetlands above, what is it, 12 acres and change.
12.4.
Yeah, wow, yeah, wow. Yeah, so this would though still be subject to a joint wetlands permit. So that's an application required to go to the DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation of the state, and then also Army Corps of Engineers, if they were to build closer than 100 feet to the wetland.
So can we make a stipulation in the subdivision that you can't build closer than 100 feet from the wetlands as described in this map? Seems to me we often do that with cricks.
Mhm. Yeah.
Would you, is the idea to, would you like to have that delineated, or do you feel comfortable with the area in which it's delineated on the map? Or the reason I'm asking is because I would then ask the applicant to add that to the subdivision plat.
Well,
Yeah.
isn't it already in our subdivision regulations that structure cannot be built within 100 feet of a stream or an established wetland?
We had some 50-footers on streams before.
Yeah, I would like to definitely see that delineated very specifically on the plat.
Yep.
With reference to the state, to the federal wetland, and that's why.
Does that give them enough
I
build
think it
room?
would be,
Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm
I
wondering
think
if
it would be
that,
best to show.
Wait, Al.
sorry, Al. I'm wondering if that gives them enough build room with the setbacks and 100-foot from the wetlands, the way they have it configured now.
Yeah, I think the property's like 450 feet deep.
Okay. Okay.
Well, there's plenty of room there. Go ahead, Al.
376.
I think it would be best if we showed the boundary line of the wetland on the subdivision map. And then we also showed a 100-foot setback. And on the map, it says no building within this area, which includes the 100-foot setback and the wetlands.
Would we want to say no disturbance? Because I wouldn't like to see the septic system put within that 100 feet. I could see where it would be a good idea not to have a developed lawn within that 100 feet. You know, how far do we go?
I think no disturbance is.
I mean, I'm saying building, I think you might need that for a leach field for some of the area. And I don't think that's a bad thing in that 100-foot setback area to have a leach field. But that's my opinion. But as long as there's no physical structures in that 100-foot setback, I think that's the best of both worlds. We're giving a little bit each way.
Well, I was kind of on the point of agreeing with Jerry about any kind of disturbance at all.
Yeah.
Because once, you know, once you start, you know, for instance, we make a lot of noise about the stormwater regulations mitigating a lot of this, a lot of effect on the surrounding land. But it's best if even the disturbance for the stormwater structures don't happen within that buffer.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like this lot is basically the drain plane for the whole neighborhood. So everybody else's water is getting dumped, stormwater is getting dumped here.
Yeah, I had the feeling that anything that this developer did as far as stormwater was concerned would solve a lot of problems that already exist.
I would say that if we're looking at disturbance within that 100 feet, that the only thing that would probably be acceptable would be stormwater retention, or, you know, that's designed.
I like that idea, but I think whatever has to comport with the federal law.
And the federal law is what, Lynn?
As somebody mentioned, I don't know the law, but 100-foot setback, I thought I heard when they were talking about the federal regs.
But that's for building, I mean, I'm taken to understand that's for building, not for just
Disturbance.
Disturbance.
Well, then we've gone over and above, which is, I guess, a good thing. And
I wouldn't have a problem if somebody disturbed it enough to put a path to the creek, for instance.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we'd regulate that anyway.
There's a path already there
Down through from
the fishing access.
Yes, there's a little footbridge.
I like Dean's idea of stormwater possibilities in that area, but I don't know the engineering.
Yeah, I would think that a lot of that area is the contours would run in such a way that would bring water down through there, but also through some of the adjoining properties.
Larry, once upon a time, I believe it was down on the Floyd Davis property, we had the town engineer make a determination. That was for the edge of the gorge or whatever.
Yes, but we could ask
Yeah.
the applicant to include a the basic stormwater and drainage plan, which we could then have the town engineer review as desired. I did mention that drainage area. Lynn Day actually brought that to our attention. And I did mention it to Dondi, but we could have a more thorough look as desired.
I think that we need to look at that.
I agree.
It might be a common drainage area for the 3 lots. I don't know enough to know.
Right, but we need to know before we can make a decision.
Got it.
Okay, would you like to hear from the applicant?
Can we hear from Mr. Hartz?
Absolutely.
Please, yes.
Hi, Mr. Hertz. Are you connected?
Sorry, I was muting the other, the YouTube.
Yeah, thank you.
Directed at me.
Thank you. We'd like to hear your comments on this and what we've been talking about.
So I'm in full support of protecting the wetlands as much as possible, and I think that it'd be good to have a kind of a line set for the closest that there could be any ground disturbance or building. And I can talk with TG Miller, who I've been working with, to see if we can get that included on the map. In terms, I know there's a question about the amount of building space that there is there with the wetlands. So I did just a little bit of my own measuring, and the wetlands is about 300 feet from the road. And with the 60-foot setback from the center of the road, that leaves about 140 feet for like a building area, kind of in the middle of the land there. So that's just what my own measurements were earlier today. I'm trying to think of some of the other comments. In terms of the driveway steepness, like the slope on there, I sent an email with CJ with some comparable driveways that were with other properties. One was with Mr. Isbell's, and one was with 11 Maple Ave. Just that they all share the same slope along that ledge off Maple Ave. That were existing properties. They're just ones that I had seen, so I figured I would include them in my email. In terms of like the comments about subdividing the lots out, I looked at the size of a lot of the lots that are down in Ludloville, and these three would still be three of the larger parcels that are down in Ludloville. So I feel like there is a fair amount of room to maintain a lot of that natural ecosystem that's down there, especially if we're putting in that delineation of like a building area onto the map.
So you feel that there's plenty of building room, even with a 100-foot setback from the wetlands, and a 60-foot setback off the center of the road. It looks that way to me too, but you're in agreement with that.
Yes, yeah, I am. And my measurement, I didn't measure from the center of the road. I measured from the edge of the road. So there's a little bit more than what I even calculated. Yeah.
Well, we would like to see some information from Dandy on this.
Okay, sorry, could you just clarify who that is?
I'm sorry, from TG Miller.
Okay.
Who is also the town's engineer.
Okay.
It'd be nice, I think, if it also showed potential building sites with the septic system footprint and replacement septic system footprint. I don't believe it's sewer down there.
Yeah, no, it's private septic, and I would agree with that. That's been pretty common in a lot of the lots that I've seen out of developments.
So Matt, I think we're also particularly concerned with the stormwater, even though it's not your stormwater, it's being thrown onto your property, and you're kind of the last man in the neighborhood to have a large parcel, and so it gets dumped there, and to a certain degree, it becomes your problem. So we definitely would like to hear comments from Dondi about what kind of stormwater is getting dumped there and what impact it's having if these lots are developed.
Okay. And sorry, just for what I need to send to is it Dondi?
TG Miller.
Okay.
Whoever you're dealing with there.
Yeah. All right. So just talk with them about where the storm water is coming off and what kind of resolutions there could be for that.
Correct.
I think we like to see where where delineate on the map, the line of the wetland and the line of the no building area. I think visually, it would help all of us involved to see that on the subdivision map.
Okay.
Yep.
You okay with that?
Yes, yeah, and I know with my parents' building lot, they had kind of a box set on the map that they were given that was like the allowable area for them to build. Is that kind of the same idea as what you're talking about?
Well, we'd like to see the areas where you're not allowed to build,
Okay, all right,
rather than a box where you are and the reason for it. You know, if it's a setback, side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, and a setback of 100 feet off the edge of that wetland, as best as it can be described.
okay.
Larry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to note, for the members of the planning board, did you see Lynn Day's email? I bring this up only because a couple of the presenters to the public hearing had made statements that Lynn had said there was no room for driveways there. And Lynn definitively states that he never told anybody there wasn't room for driveway on either of the proposed lots.
I saw that, Larry.
I don't know if everybody had a chance to see the email. I just wanted to set that straight.
Okay, so that's in the record. We will, does anyone have any more questions or discussion?
Not until we see more information.
Matt, one quick question for you.
Yep.
If you subdivide here, are you looking to build yourself or sell the lots?
I'm looking to sell the lots. We purchased another home in Lansing that better suited our family, and so we're just moving to that.
So anybody in the neighborhood who's interested can purchase the property.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt. Does anybody have any more questions for him? We appreciate your time and thank you for coming out on a Zoom meeting.
Yes, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
So we'll need information. When do we want to look at this again? And do we want to leave the public hearing open until the next meeting? Or
I think so.
Larry, do you have a comment?
I've just said, why? We've heard from the public.
We've heard from everybody that
We
lives
have
around
acted
here.
on their comments.
I think we'd want to see this come back as soon as there's a plat prepared and some information for us to look at.
And to be fair, I think that some of the comments that they made were substantive, and there are some things that we really need to think about before looking at going forward with the short form.
I concur.
Would you like to ask the applicant to complete the full part one?
On the mapper?
I think we need to talk about it first.
Oh, okay.
So, you think that you want to talk about it right now, Larry?
Well, we can talk about it right now. The object that's up right now is whether or not to close the public hearing.
Dale, did you have a comment as to why you think we should leave it open?
I just didn't think it would do any harm to keep it open until we get more information in. So I didn't see a real reason to close it at this point in time.
Because we will still accept information, written submittals to the board.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I just didn't know if there was a real reason to close it.
All right, can I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second,
Seconded. Lynn and Larry. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
aye.
All opposed?
I,
Lynn is opposed?
no, do you want to do a roll call or are we just closing it?
I don't need a roll, yeah, I don't need a roll call for a motion, just a resolution.
I move to close it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. So the public hearing is closed. We would like to see some more information on the map that has to do with placements of properties and allowable placements, and we'd like to stay at least 100 feet away. Do we want to say from any building or disturbance?
I agreed with you originally when you said disturbance.
Yeah.
I think disturbance also.
Yeah.
I certainly, when I was thinking disturbance, I was not thinking that water control measures might not be put in that 100 feet, because that might be a good spot to put them, because it'd be the lowest spot on the property.
That'd be the only exception that I would think. we
Yeah,
should
if it could be
consider.
shown, I agree. If it could be shown that that was going to protect the wetland,
Then that would be the only exception that we would think would be reasonable.
And that would be common for all the subdivision.
yeah,
For all 3 lots.
because of the layout of the lot, I think they're going to have to share one system.
Well, in the layout of that wetland,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that needs to be protected. Okay, CJ?
Thanks, Matt.
I've got a note into Dondi about this as well.
thank you. Okay, you asked why I had the question about the long form.
Yes.
I think that because of the way that question 13 was answered, and because we are aware of the lot, each individually of us is aware of the property, where it lies, how it lies with relationship to Salmon Creek, all the other things. We take a look at the way that the concerns that have been posted at the public hearing, and just because it is a sensitive area, do we want to ask to go ahead with the long form? That's my question to the board.
I would like to see the long form, but I'd like to hear some comments from everybody.
I think we'd be better off doing the long form, not the burden, but just answers more questions.
Yeah, the diligence required doesn't really get met by the short form.
Right.
I concur.
Tom, do you have any?
It's an extremely important piece of land right next to the creek there. So I think the long form would be appropriate.
I don't think that's an undue hardship on anybody. So let's go with the long form for the next meeting.
Okay.
The next action meeting.
Correct.
So Matt, I can just send you, I'll just attach the full part 1 pre-filled I've already generated it based on our conversations tonight, so I'll just attach
Thank you.
it to the email for.
Thanks.
Now that's super efficient. Before the meeting's even ended, Supergirl here has got it set,
Just the computer.
which means you probably weren't paying much attention to us.
Oh, no, of course. Hey, I heard you say you wanted the full part one.
Yep. All right, thank you, Matt. We'll see you at the next, whatever we call these meetings. It's not a working meeting.
That'll works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, do we want to review the land use ordinance audit? You have on here appendix of questions.
You mentioned that you wanted to consider picking that up this meeting.
Yeah, because we're going to lose a lot of it next meeting because of this training that we are fortunate to be able to partake of.
Yeah, we're going to try to address Britain at the next meeting as well, right?
Right.
Yeah, but if we get everything that we need, we should be able to just do it.
Right, that should be quick, and this property in Ludlowville should be quick if we have everything that we need and we like it.
And that, just to be clear, that would be the next next regular meeting on Monday, August 24th. Is that correct?
The end of August, yeah.
Not
Okay.
for the Britons.
But Britain, we're going to try to take care of it the next working meeting. You see any problem with the scheduling if we try to take care of Britain at the next working meeting?
On the 10th?
Yes.
No problem.
Unless they can, if they can turn everything around by the end of
Right.
this week. That's kind of the only.
Oh, I think
hurdle.
they could be motivated to do that.
I think we owe it to them to do it.
Yeah.
I agree, we
Ready.
do.
Have
I
them on
agree
the
with
agenda.
See if Dandy can get it turned around. I realize we're probably not his only, the only job that he's got to work on.
Okay, so that mailing for the 10th has to go out this Friday, the 31st, for you to have enough time to actually review it.
So so you're saying, well, you can
Notice.
email to us if you get it back later, but we'd like to see what Dandy's got before that next meeting if we can.
If I could reiterate, Dondi has said he's got an unspecified number of questions. And then he also specifically said he wants the SHPO letter. Well, I don't think it would be any problem for Tim to get the SHPO letter. And I would like to see the questions not only specified by that meeting, but taken care of. We keep going back and forth on people, and it doesn't serve our best use or our clients.
I agree with Larry.
But we don't know if, I mean, I don't know where the holdup is. Is Tim not answering the questions or?
Well, I think there's some disagreement on perhaps a professional approach.
Nicely said.
I know what I would have done when I was a project manager.
Yeah, let's see if we can get those two to agree and get back to us so we can get this off our table.
Agree, hell, let's just get them talking about the same thing.
Well, I think Scott and Tim and Donnie have made some significant progress, and hopefully the plats reflects that. I know that there was a significant concern about the cost to the owner or developers to extend the roadway as well as the water main. So there was significant conversation about that. So hopefully that's at least a small piece of it. But I will mention the SHPO letter again. I will send an email out to the applicants right after we end this meeting. So see if we can get them moving.
Yeah, if they don't
Ask
make it
them if they'd like us to sit down and talk to them.
It won't be the end of the world if they don't make it by the next meeting, but let's try to light a fire under them or explain to them that we'd like to see it and see if it helps.
I think at this point, with the amount of time this has been going on, we owe it to the applicants to see that we're not the holdup.
Yep, they do need to get started. Okay. So review of the land use, do you have anything on that? I forgot, were we on question 51 or something like that?
We're up to 70, I thought.
Probably.
Yeah, I think Tom's right. We're at about 70.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I think we're at 60
I
when I
forgot
lost.
all about this.
Yeah,
I think we're at 70.
I thought we got through at least 68.
yeah, because I have a starting July 13th at 61. I would have been meeting. Did we have a problem with this? Because I seem to go from number 76, 78 up to 92.
I can add to that. I'm looking at the minutes from the working meeting. It says we'll continue at the July 27th, 2020 meeting if time allows, starting with line number 71.
Thanks, Sue. You're awesome.
Again, you're awesome. Even though you're not in New York anymore.
Don't come back here. You'll have to quarantine.
Actually, I am quarantining and I've been back for a week now.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, my son is getting married, and so yeah, I'm here to his wedding.
I'm quarantining because I went and got tested because of this cough that I've got.
Yeah, actually, and I was quarantining back there too, so I'm pretty quarantined out.
Poor Sue.
And when you go back, you'll have to quarantine again.
Let's see what we can get through in 15 or 20 minutes because I'm old. It's past my bedtime.
All right. We'll keep plugging away here.
I'm just hot and there's no air conditioning here.
Okay, CJ.
All right. So you said we left off at 72?
She said 71, but I think we
Oh.
would have gone to the lot sizes.
Yeah.
Okay, right. We left off on design compatibility. Okay. And this question, actually, I was thinking about discussing regarding the last proposal, actually, regarding the subdivision. I was wondering if it would have helped to reduce the size of the lots, but that's neither here nor there at this moment. So the question is,
it depends on where the lots are because we can't reduce the size of the lots if they require septic system plus one replacement.
Right, and replacement. Yep.
yeah, that's the real limitation there. Okay, so our minimum lot size is established by the zoning regulations tending to become the standard lot sizes for future development.
For the foreseeable future, yes.
Yeah, now we've got some situations like the one that we worked on tonight, the Britain development, where the lot sizes are more flexible in that kind of development. And I would like to see more the idea of some small lots with rental units or, I think that's going to be the future on some of these nicely wooded properties that you can get several people in them instead of having them all used up in one house.
Several small structures.
Yep. Several rental units or.
We can do that where there's public water. We can reduce the lot size. Our current ordinance has reduced the lot size where there's public water. But when we have to maintain siting for a septic system and its replacement.
Yep.
And a well.
We really can't do that.
Well, if you have public water, you don't have to worry about the well, but.
That's right.
The structure and the septic system and the replacement take a certain amount of room, along with the setbacks that are required, that you can't build any of that in. And so I think that that's where it is. But I think that there are formulas that can be derived to build on smaller lots of small communities with smaller lots. I'm not saying in the whole town, but in certain spots, it might behoove us to have little communities or little hamlets that might want to go in that could use smaller lots, and we ought to have a way to be able to achieve that.
So similar to what they wanted to do
with Britons.
Similar to what they wanted to do on, Warren Road and Hillcrest.
Yeah, in there, or I'm thinking a little bit like out in Boysenville, except in a wooded area.
Sure.
That kind of thing that might be acceptable, might not, but we ought to have a way to be able to consider it in this town, and not just have it outlawed outright.
Well, Schickleville, could be on the order of a cluster development and with extra buffering. I agree with you, or in a PDA format. I don't see that as a negative. If people don't want to look at it, it's buffered.
So it's considered, you're saying we can consider it as a PDA.
Yeah.
No,
like
we
about the
built
mini
it into
houses.
zoning.
Remember, we go down quite a ways with water and sewer. Our lot size there is what's under 20,000, isn't it? With both water and sewer.
It's at 20,000, I thought. Is it less?
At 20,000.
With water and sewer, like in the town center, it's 10,000 a dwelling unit.
Is it?
Yeah, you can go down
that's
to
what I
8.
thought. We were down.
She says 8.
Yeah, you can go down to 8 and B1 and B2.
That's right down there.
Well, with water and sewer, a man like you has property in that area.
Yeah. Okay, number 73.
Okay, so similar type of question. Are small single-family lots permitted where feasible? And we just spoke about some of the smallest lot sizes currently allowed.
Are actually at 8,000 square feet instead of 5 to 6.
Do you think if there were an agreement with Tompkins County Health Department regarding specific type of systems that they would accept, would the planning board like to consider that? There are some smaller systems, septic, that can be installed that can be quite expensive, but
I think we should just go down to 8,000 when we have public water and sewer.
What did we do out on out on Proville Road? At what's that fellow's name that's out there that SDM is building the houses now? We allowed those houses all to be on smaller lots in effect, but the lot coverage of the whole subdivision had to be maintained at 40,000 feet per unit.
That's correct.
Is that Scott Morgan?
Yes, there you go. Now that kind of situation to me looks good, where you end up with a lot of open space and the houses are allowed to be closer together. So we've already got that figured out, and I don't know what size lots those houses are on individually. Were they rentals or were they selling them?
I think they're rentals.
And I think they're all rentals, aren't they?
Yes, I think they are.
So would we allow something like that if the houses were gonna be sold? It would have to be under a PDA, right?
Or a cluster.
That
Yeah,
wasn't-
or a cluster
That wasn't a
subdivision.
PDA. We allowed them to do that by keeping the total number of structures down, so that when you did the math, they were 40,000 square feet apiece.
Right, would we go down to 20,000 square feet apiece with water and sewer? Or
With water.
or sewer?
With water, I'd say we would go down to 20 because that's what we've already got. And maybe we could go down to 10 with sewer and water.
Is that in our code so that we can allow that, CJ? Or we have that choice?
So if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that's the lowest, or the smallest lot with water and sewer in what specific zone? I think I'm missing that, or maybe it's just a blanket statement, but
Well,
if you have
this-
water and sewer, you could go down, I mean, you could go down pretty far.
But people have to look at it.
Right,
So,
they have to live in it, but
so if you have a
rather than forcing people to go into one single building with apartments in it, I'm trying to envision something that would give each person their own house and yard, and yet have a larger area, allow the developer to put in more houses, but have a lot of empty area also.
So,
Just like that, the Scott, whatever his
Right,
name is.
right. Oh,
Sure.
yeah, Scott Morgan. So it sounds like maybe you're looking for not only reducing the lot size, but also potentially putting a limit on the building size as well.
That's a possibility. I'm sort of thinking of senior citizen developments that I think might be coming up as our population ages and be amenable to that kind of development if it comes along.
Because if you're talking about doing an engineered septic field that is, approved by the health department so that you can have a smaller lot, it would seem that potentially if you're targeting senior or affordable, that you might be looking at homes that, might be limited to 2 bedrooms, might be limited to, certain size structures in terms of square footage and lot coverage.
If you want to see what one of those looks like, with water and sewer, on Mitchell Street, where I forget what they call them, they're the Bell Sherman cottages, I believe, on
Right.
Mitchell Street.
Yeah, Karina did that.
Those are all 1 and 2 story cottages, 2 and 3 bedroom, and they're each on between 4,000 and 5,000 square feet of land.
Yeah, I think I would want to be more than that, but maybe not. In other words, I want something between a trailer park and a McMansion.
Well, these are basically $275,000, $300,000 houses. The only thing that I don't like about them is your neighbor can ask you to pass the sugar and he wouldn't have to get up when you reach to him.
they're the ones across from the high voltage lab, right?
Yes.
You got it.
What I'd like to see is development with homeowners associations, so people that are looking to downsize and want to be in a smaller community don't have to worry about the maintenance of their lawn and whatnot. We don't have anything like that right now.
Right, that's exactly the kind of community that I'm wondering if we want to try to incentivize here.
Wasn't that exactly what was going to happen across the street in Milton Meadows with the first provision? We were going to have affordable housing.
Yeah, I don't know if that is still there. I happen to be on that committee, and maybe that's where I got the feeling that I'd like to see this, but something that's individual housing, but able to be built on lots that are smaller and closer together, more like a hamlet. You know, a lot like the people in Ludlowville are talking about their town, you know, their area.
But that's where you're looking at shared septic systems, definitely sewer and subsidies so people can afford to live in them.
Possibly. I think seniors in a lot of cases in Lansing can afford to live in something that's 8,000 or 9,000 square feet around the house, just arranged in such a way that you're sharing the open space. So that your houses may be a little closer together to give everybody bigger open space that they can use.
That's the whole concept of cluster, the whole section.
Yep, I agree.
So the stuff that Larry talked about there on Mitchell, it's on, they're about 40 foot by 95 foot lots. So about 3,800 square feet, and it's on Walnut Street.
All with 20-foot side yard setbacks?
No.
No.
Oh, their setbacks are more like, what, 18 feet?
Looks like some of them are
Not even.
right on the line.
It does a salt and pepper shaker good.
Yeah.
That's just like most towns in the day where I grew up.
They just look like traditional neighborhood development.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, city house. Yeah.
Tiny, tiny spaces.
But
That's how the 55 plus communities are.
Mm-hmm.
They do have their own lawns, but then they have shared space in the community as well.
This one didn't really have any shared space. And their lawns were like one lawnmower cut wide.
No,
Each side.
that's not what I'm thinking of.
We looked at a model of the Chautauqua development when we were at one of the Planning Federation meetings. We might get a picture of that, but they done small houses, shared space.
May I point out that this only works when you have full utility.
Right.
Gas, electric underground, septic, or municipal sewer, and also municipal water.
Well, we don't
And
get
also
to have
somebody
gas.
to maintain the streets and the sidewalks.
Yeah, I think most of the stuff there on Walnut Street is, some of it probably has solar, but I think most of it's electric heat pump.
No.
Really?
Some of them have conventional furnaces. I
Okay.
did the stormwater inspection on the project, so I was there for pretty much the whole thing.
That's
Yes, there are
common.
some heat pump, but there are also some conventional furnaces, and they're in the crawl spaces.
This is
source or water-based heat pumps. Geothermal?
I think we're going beyond the limits of this meeting.
Next.
and this is a bit, or this is very off topic, but the project engineer for Britton Woods is in the waiting room. Would you like me to admit them, or should I just pass on that information?
Oh, sure, we'd love to talk to them.
Okay, hold on just a moment.
Tim, hello.
You're muted, Tim.
You're muted.
How's that? Is that better?
Much better.
Sorry for being AWOL. I didn't realize that it was tonight for some reason. So.
It's all your fault.
Yeah, it is my fault. I'm old. I'm forgetful. CJ did email me a couple of weeks ago about it after I submitted all the stuff. And I don't know what happened, but I apologize.
So we had to table it for tonight or set it up till next, the next meeting. Voting on the resolutions.
Okay.
Because Dandy said that he had some questions that he did not stipulate to us. And we want to make sure that you and Dandy get together before August 31st. Is that what you said?
No, the
CJ?
10th.
August
No.
10th.
Well, I
Or
mean,
July 31st.
July 31st.
Oh, yeah, okay, that
In
should
the
be.
next couple of days so that we can get those questions specified and get them out to the board so we can consider this, and we're willing to try to consider it at our next working meeting.
Okay, perfect.
If we can see the questions and it ends up not being something that's gonna take a lot of time, because we have a training session involved there and some other stuff.
Did he do an email or a letter of the review yet? That I haven't seen it. I was kind of waiting for his comments, but never got him. So did he do something, CJ?
Yeah, I asked him to send along some comments, and then he asked if you had responded to his comments, so we can coordinate the bunch of us.
Well, we did comments back a couple of weeks ago that we responded to. Is there something newer?
Apparently, he has said that you haven't answered all of those.
Huh.
Hold on, maybe I overlooked something, but let me see.
We have a letter June 29th.
Yeah.
It has a lot of stuff on it. And then CJ got an email today, or
That's correct.
saying that there were still unspecified issues that you and he hadn't come to an agreement on and needed further discussion or needed to be resolved.
The only thing I can think of, Larry, is the stuff about the SHPO contact, and I talked to CJ about that it should not be required because this subdivision, the only reason we're doing a SWIP is because of the town ordinance concerning stormwater, as opposed to it being required by the DEC, which triggers automatically the contact with SHPO and the archaeological reviews and all the other stuff. And I was trying to avoid that for my clients.
I understand, but the bottom line on this is the clients aren't going anywhere because he seems to say that you have to do the SHPO.
That's the only stumbling point that I know. And I responded in my response to him that this is what I felt, that it really is, he's not exactly correct on it, which I could be wrong. But
he was saying that there are other items too.
Oh,
and
well,
that's why we couldn't go any further, because they didn't specify what those items were.
Sure. But we revised all the drawings and did everything he asked, we thought. So when I responded to CJ, we had a comment letter.
If I may just say, I think Donnie was looking for a response to the comment letter. So if you could respond to the June 29th comments.
Yeah, we did. So you should have a copy of it.
No, I did not receive that. I only received a new cluster package, a new SWIP revision, July 2020, and the updated part 1. As far as I know, I don't think I've gotten a response to the June 29th.
We had a memorandum point by point that we did. So.
Okay, so maybe I'm just missing it here.
Yeah.
Need to make sure that gets to CJ.
Sure, and I'll make sure Donnie gets a copy too. But it usually goes right through CJ. So.
And we'll see.
Yeah, I don't see the point by point response. It's possible I could be overlooking it, but yes, if we can find a time
sure.
for the 4 of us to meet.
I'll make sure I can do that either later tonight or tomorrow morning first thing. So.
Very good. We'd like to help out your client, and we hate to be the holdup, but we want to make sure all the guys are happy.
I didn't help you much on this one, so apparently, so I apologize. They're great people, and I just want to see it happen for them. So they've been very patient. So.
Yep.
Well, that's why we want to be able to work on it on our meeting of July or of August 10th.
I really appreciate that.
In order to do that, you guys got to get on the same page, man.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So, all right, Larry. Appreciate your help. Thank you, all of you. So.
Thank you.
I just sent an email. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Okay, guys, you too.
Night, Tim.
Again, I almost was on time, wasn't I? Or close.
On
Close
time
enough.
before we adjourn.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
So we got 2 questions further.
Okay, let me try to locate this.
74.
Okay, hold on just a moment. There we go. Go back. There we go. Okay, so I think we covered 76. And it sounds like there might be some interest in square footage.
Yeah, and also potentially lot coverage as well.
Question 79.
Yeah,
Is there a maximum lot coverage? Okay, yes.
I think that we do have.
Yeah, we do kind of the flip side
Yeah,
by
minimum
calling
open
it minimum.
space.
But would we want to consider a maximum lot coverage as an alternative? Or are we happy with the minimum open
Well, look,
space approach?
Here's the deal. If we're going to start considering stuff like we were just talking about, we're going to have to rethink that whole maximum lot coverage thing. Because if
Depends
we're
on what
gonna-
zone you're in.
Yeah, if we're going to go down to those standards, then we're going to have the lot coverage fit the minimum allowable in the zone.
Yeah, there could be no maximum lot coverage, or it could be a very high number. It could be 80% or 90%.
Yeah, we
I
have
can
to make,
remember when they took down a brand new home with a backhoe in Skinny Atlas because of lot coverage question.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Heights has pretty strict rules on that too.
I don't see why we can't fit it in with a PDA. Unless we're going to try to do this up and down the road as a normal format.
yeah, with
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah, I don't see it as a normal format that's going to run, one after the other up and down the road. So
Right.
PDA or a cluster.
PDA.
But
Okay.
we don't have a hamlet zone defined. And I'm more and more beginning to think maybe we want to try to define one.
So then you can have your in-town homes just like whatever up there by the voltage lab on Walnut Street. That can be in a hamlet.
Only if there's sewer.
so for lot coverage, we definitely have to make sure that that's well defined, whether it's roofed spaces as opposed to decks and patios, and whether you include gutters, things like that. I've had the town of Ithaca tell me that, your gutters count.
Yeah,
Lot
actually,
coverage.
the village of Lansing had that same thing happen not too many years ago. That the gutters were considered and the lot didn't have a deep enough backyard.
Yeah, for setback.
Right, so the people in the house had to buy the next lot over.
In order to put gutters on. Yeah, made a lot of sense. Sure.
I remember building under that code enforcement officer. And we see him every now and then.
Yeah, I see him once in a while too.
Always a smile.
Yeah.
And do you, would there also be interest in doing like a maximum impervious surface cover, or is that kind of a bridge too far?
That's really not defined any place, is it?
I don't believe so right now.
So you're going to have that in the rain garden?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about, patios don't count for lot coverage, then you can just put concrete everywhere, right? It doesn't absorb a lot of runoff, though.
Right.
Well, we wouldn't want to see somebody concrete and then false grass their whole lot if they decided to stop mowing lawn, for instance.
Well, a lot of people like that idea. They don't want to mow lawn.
But we have to have some control over the runoff. So
Okay.
impervious surface, our maximum impervious surface sizes might not be that goofy an idea.
Okay, consider. And we could, have that mapped, and then we could just have that as a layer, and it will tell us.
Depends on the
Okay.
soil as well.
Yes, that's right. This would be installed impervious surfaces rather than the natural ones. Okay, do lot sizes conform to the comprehensive plan? I don't think I saw any specifics in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any specifics in the comprehensive plan, but
We're still a rural town. I don't think that we can specifically say that.
right.
There are still going to be people that want larger lots. And if we start laying down lot sizes in a comprehensive plan, then we're going to, because the comprehensive plan has to be followed by the building code, we're going to have to start limiting the size of lots.
DJ, can you move your cursor?
Oh.
Thanks.
Okay. So no specific guidance
Now, it
there.
may be that we're getting beyond Larry's bedtime. So maybe we can stop at 81.
Okay. All right.
So 80 was the
Highlight
last
that.
question that we made,
We'll just highlight that for next time.
and we can this up.
I will happily be the bad guy.
No worries.
Hey, I had a question about this training session on the 10th. What's the story on that?
CJ,
I didn't care anything
yes.
about a training session.
I didn't either.
Oh, hold on just a moment, because what I got was here. We'll just share this because it'll be easier. Okay, so we got this email about our regularly scheduled annual trainings. So you know how we usually everybody gets together in the big room and we talk about bloodborne pathogens, workplace violence, sexual harassment, and handling hazardous materials.
We've done it once.
Well,
yeah.
I don't
Now it's a
remember.
requirement every year.
now you remember. Okay, so we're getting two options here. Either we can all do the training individually by going to the PERMA site, as Charmaine has indicated, or alternatively, we could all watch together. Now, the individual training, from what I understand, takes quite a while because you have to watch each video and then take a test. So my understanding is it takes about 3 hours to do, 3 to
That's
4
correct.
hours to do those. But if we do it together, all we have to do is watch the video, and it's 90 minutes, and then that counts. So
when she
Ask
sent
Jerry.
the email, I opted for the doing it all together, so we'd all be sure that we picked it up.
But
And
our meeting night is a bad night to do it.
pardon?
We don't get anything else done.
Well, it'll be at the next meeting. It'll be a 90-minute thing that starts at 6:30, ends at 8 o'clock, and that still leaves us an hour before your bedtime to get a few other things done.
Don't we have to do Britain next meeting if they have their ducks in a row?
Yeah, but we've got an hour to play with that. Britain actually, and is that it? Just the Britain one?
Yeah. Why don't we start at 6?
We can give it a shot. If I'm back working, I don't get out until 5, so sometimes it's hard to get for me to get back. 6:30 I can always make. 6 o'clock sometimes it's difficult, but as a one timer, I can certainly make it 6.
I'm going to be out of town on the 10th, and I don't know if I'm going to have any internet access.
So you may have to do
3-hour one.
Well, yeah, okay, so I could do that.
So
Plan
CJ,
B.
can you send him the email so he can sign up on the permit thing?
Yes, hopefully it's easy to log in. Let me know or show
Probably
me
eat
know.
dinner while you're doing that one too. This sucks.
Ooh, what the heck?
Did you send that email to all of us, or was it one just the chairman that got it?
Yeah, I just sent it to Jerry and Judy to see, and then Tom and Carrie for the Conservation Advisory Council to kind of get an initial weigh in on what they thought could work best.
We had
Thanks
the last time that
for including us in on it, huh?
the last time we did the training, we had some difficulty making sure that everybody got it. So I thought this way would be the most advantageous and it would not take up nearly so much time.
If Tom can't make the planning board one, could he make one of the other board ones? And, you know, possibly people could switch
Great,
back and forth that way?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you receive the training any other way, for instance, if any of you work for, you know, the county or, you know, have received the training in some other way, that's totally fine. That counts also.
So is the training going to be offered a different week?
They would like us to have it done by the end of August, which is why I was trying to.
But what he's asking is, will there be another board that has the training during their meeting that he could sit in on and get credit for rather than doing it on his own? Does the town board or one of the zoning board of appeals or somebody else doing it at one of their meetings?
I thought I sent it to you and Carrie, but maybe not. I'll have to
I
make a
didn't
note of
see
that.
it.
Okay. But at CAC, that's entirely possible. Could do that
Okay.
at the next meeting. I'll make a note to follow up with you about that tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
All right, do we have any other, do you have a report, CJ, that you want to go through?
No, just the exciting news that Doug already mentioned, that we won the money from the Park Foundation to do the work over at Town Center that you wanted to do sort of around the time of the Milton Meadows project. So the full stormwater analysis for the site, as well as finishing that traffic impact study. So really grateful to the Park Foundation for awarding that funding.
DJ, you mentioned some sketches for Town Center last time, some kind of visuals. Can you forward the ones that we have?
Let's see. Well, depends. There's some that go way back. There's ones from, I think, Hunt, maybe, that designed kind of a conceptual pieces.
Conceptual.
Okay. Yep, let me make a note of that. Town Center visuals. Okay.
Again, you're talking about trying to be as specific as possible in the request. For development over there.
Yes, and hopefully we can work towards some visuals as well. So we're just doing some of these foundational pieces. It'll be really fantastic to have that stormwater analysis for the whole site. I know that, and also if there's going to be any further improvements, having that traffic impact study wrapped up will be great, because I know the DOT had some concerns about that during that review. So it's really nice to have that fully paid for. So, but if there's no, yay, everybody. And if there's any specific questions on the report, let me know. As you all know, Jen, our new Sue, is now gone. So now the old Sue is back to being Sue.
The youthful Sue.
You're awful hard on subordinates there, aren't you, CJ?
It's terrible.
She wasn't even here a week.
Oh. Oh, well, I guess, people have other opportunities. We
And
certainly
just
respect
find
that.
out that Sue is irreplaceable is what you.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. But nevertheless, we do have some qualified applicants. I'm doing a first round of interviews this week, and I think we'll find some good candidates, and then of course Sue will hopefully help us train them. So through
She's
we'll have
in
Sue on.
quarantine for the next 6 months. She's got nothing.
Yeah.
All I know is Sue has set the bar quite high
Tell me about it.
as far as finding somebody to replace her.
Yes, so we had kind of a really awesome balance in our departments. I think we were running a pretty well-oiled ship, and now we're clanking along a little bit. So thanks for being patient with us during this transition. We'll hopefully be up to full speed again someday.
Very good. So, you have anything else, CJ?
I think that's the
report?
highlights.
That's it?
I got to.
Go ahead, Al.
Sandy, do you want to just touch base on that short-term rental?
Oh, yes, of course.
Now, or do you want to have a?
Sandy?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You want to just quickly what we've done so far?
Well, we're just gathering data and putting it into one document. So we have a comprehensive view of the surrounding villages and towns and what they are doing for short-term rental. I'm getting ready to pull together a matrix so we can see what the common themes are. Most of them have like a permit process and parking, requirements and insurance and things like that. So I'll pull together a matrix in the next week or so and send it on to everybody.
And Sue or CJ, could you make sure to put the report from this committee on the agenda for the next meeting? I mean, so that because this is a good point. We needed this report. And I want to make sure to keep up with anything that they have in my memories not so great.
Okay, so short-term rentals report on 8/10.
And the meetings after that, if until we get it resolved. So we'll hear from this committee every meeting.
Sue?
Do you have something else, Sandy?
Yeah. Sandy?
Yeah.
Remind me to send you the rest of the stuff I found today on Lake Placid. What they have specifically concerns the 90-day rental limit and the relationship to owner-occupied property.
Yes, I saw some of that. I think Al sent me a link at one point, or sent us a link at one point. But yeah, send me what you have.
Okay.
All right. Are we finished?
Yes.
Yes.
And the meeting is adjourned.
Good night.
9:07.
Good night.
Good luck, Sue, with your wedding.
Thank you,
TJ's
CJ.
wedding.
Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You
Martha.
are appreciated.
You too. Thanks, Jerry.
Bye-bye.
Okay.